Hello and welcome to the Digitally Overwhelmed podcast. My name is Cinthia Pacheco, and I'm on a mission to help online businesses step out of digital overwhelm and step into their creative potential. This podcast is all about helping women get more in tune with the analytics and SEO side of their business without the digital burnout. Get more information about the podcast at digitalbloomiq.com. All right, my friends, welcome to the Digitally Overwhelmed podcast. I'm Cinthia, your host, and I run Digital Bloom IQ, where I help health and wellness businesses get found in Google and heal more of the world. This is episode 173 of the podcast, and today we are talking all about where to find quality keywords. So I love this topic, and I'm really passionate about it because keywords can be a pretty big part of your SEO strategy. It's not the only thing. And like I mentioned in the last episode, the whole month of February will be dedicated to keywords. So if this is something that you are particularly interested in, I recommend that you subscribe and stay tuned. Every Friday, I will have a new episode. Last week, we were talking about what are keywords, and it's important to understand, the basis of and the concept behind a keyword. So I do recommend you listen to that episode. And I also have quite a few podcast episodes that are like review keywords with me. So it's kind of a cool way to see how I track keyword progress and how I've been making progress on my own keywords, right? A lot of times it's hard to do our own work, inside of our specialty. But this is one of my big goals for 2021 is just doing my own SEO process for myself. And so last year I published a few podcast episodes and YouTube videos that show you how I do my own keyword review. So you can go to my YouTube channel, bit.ly/dbiq YouTube, and check those out. Or the last one is episode 146, where I review keywords from last year. And the last thing I want to mention is I am super, super excited that my DIY SEO course, Homegrown Traffic, is currently open for enrollment. So if you are curious to hear more about that, stay tuned till the very end. I'm going to be talking more about the course and just how it works, some of the results my students have gotten, and just, my intention behind teaching SEO. But we're going to jump into the content today of where to find quality keywords. So quality, is relative, obviously, but the idea of quality, what I mean when I say quality, is really keywords that are aligned with your goals and will make a real impact on your business. And taking that time, it's kind of like that prep work that you do before you bake a recipe or even maybe get ready for a workout. All that work you put into bringing together all the ingredients for the recipe and looking up the recipe and cleaning your kitchen, that is kind of the same thing with keywords. All this prep work needs to happen before you actually take the time to then select a keyword. So doing this might feel a little bit burdensome to some of you, or maybe you're already doing some of this stuff, and so adding the keyword strategy is kind of like an add-on, which is kind of sweet. But I do recommend taking the time, because the better aligned your keywords are, the better results you're going to get, and you don't want to rush this process. So we're going to cover 3 places that you can find some quality keywords. So the first place seems pretty obvious, but I need to say it. It's ask your clients. So you're like, okay, really? Can I even do that? Is that allowed? And absolutely, it's allowed, right? So if you are working currently with an ideal client, maybe next time you get on the phone with them, you can ask them, right? Very respectfully, hey, can I take, 5 to 10 minutes of your time? Maybe you would email them probably before, just so that they could schedule in that time, and say, hey, I'm doing some market research and I want to ask you some questions. You can even offer them something in return in terms of, making use of that time. So you could give them like an extra resource. Maybe you give them a little bit of extra of your time, right? And you could even pitch this as a separate call, right? Kind of like, I'm doing some market research around my SEO. I need, half an hour, the first 15 minutes, I'm going to ask you some questions. And then the rest of the time you can ask me about this other thing, right? So one way, like I said, is to ask current clients. Now, maybe some of you aren't working with any of your ideal clients right now, and that's okay. So here are some other ways that you can easily ask people that you consider your ideal clients. So sending them a survey, right? Sending your email list a survey, or sharing a survey, or kind of like a poll within Facebook groups is a great place. Like I said, you might have an email list, so you could send them that and then give something in return. If you have a physical location or a brick and mortar store, which I know is kind of a strange time right now with COVID, but this could also be a piece of paper in your waiting room that you can just send out or give to people as they're waiting, right? And you kind of survey them. So what is going to happen in that survey? I'm going to give you guys kind of like a template to follow in a second. But the idea, again, is just to ask them about their searching habits and to get some keyword ideas, right? And sometimes the keywords will be very, very clear cut and like, yeah, I could see that happening. And other times the keywords will surprise you, right? So going ahead of time and making this really easy for your clients to complete is the best way. You don't want them to do the heavy lifting. So a poll, sometimes a poll where you have different phrases and you just ask people, which are you most likely to search? If it's a phone conversation, like I suggested at the beginning, maybe it's more of a general question, right? Because maybe you have more trust and time to ask that person, when it comes to this problem in your life, what do you search? So here's a little email template that you can use either, for emails, or you can also kind of translate this into a poll or a phone conversation. So, hello, the person's name, right? I wanted to take a moment to say thank you for being a part of my community. This means a lot to me, and I thought we could get to know each other a bit better. So if you have a minute, would you mind hitting reply on this email and answering a couple of questions for me? Here are the questions. So here's the sample questions. What are your biggest struggles with? And there you insert what you specifically help them with. So for me, it could be getting, what are your biggest struggles with getting ranked in Google or SEO? Then the second question, what type of media, so social media, Google, etc., do you use to research this problem? And the third question, what specific words/topics do you use to search about this problem that you help them with? Another way that, let's finish this email. So thank you so much. This information helps me serve you better. And then you put your name. So that's one approach that you could take to asking them this. And again, this is really, you can adapt this and just making it easy for them to answer, right? You can provide some incentive. What I've done in the past is sometimes I'll provide a freebie or something that I usually sell, a low-cost offer, and I'll share it with them in return for them answering these questions. Another approach to this that is a little different than this template is you could actually say to them, hey, imagine you're in front of a browser and this situation is going on with your life. And the situation would be related to what you're helping them with. So again, for me, it might be, your website isn't attracting any traffic and you're worried about that and you don't know what's wrong and you're frustrated because you spent all this money and time and effort creating this beautiful website, but it's not really generating any sales for you and you don't know what to do. What do you search in Google, right? So there you're kind of opening it up a little bit more specifically to your problem. And I recommend that approach more for people who more, because it's just a little bit more of a created question, right, to focus in on your services, and they'll understand that. And when it's as someone who you don't know as much, I actually recommend adding more broad questions like what type of social media do you use or what kind of media do you use, because we don't want to cut off the research, right? So if we do have an ideal client and we notice that they tend to use, maybe they don't use Google as much. Studies have shown that actually all generations are using Google, but there's certain age groups that maybe use more social media. So anyway, it's good to just keep your research broad and unbiased, basically what I'm saying, because that's going to benefit your overall strategy. Okay, so even getting a couple of replies can be very insightful. And this is very powerful. A lot of information there. I know I just spent a lot of time explaining that, but I think a lot of people avoid this because it feels a little scary. But all sorts of businesses do these incentives. We're all the time having to do market research and to understand what our people are needing, right? And there's other ways of doing this more indirectly, but I think that this is the fastest and clearest way to do this. All right, the second way to find quality keywords is what you might not expect is Google itself, Google search. So one of the best and easiest places to just search your own keywords is from the source. So you can open up your browser if you want to do that right now. Just quickly pause and then I'll be right here. And then type in keywords on your service. If you are location-based, then include that as well. And just see what happens, see what comes up. And then what you'll notice is that when you type in the keyword, you're going to scroll down to the bottom and there'll be a section that says searches related to, and then there'll be a bunch of other options. Those are keywords. The other easy way is as you start typing in. So for example, right now I'm typing in nutritionist in Toronto. I noticed that other keywords are coming up under that, right? I haven't pressed enter yet, but they're called predictive keywords. So I see sports nutritionist Toronto, free dietitian Toronto, bodybuilding nutritionist Toronto. So see how Google's already anticipating my keywords my keyword needs by recommending other keywords. And all these keywords are things that people are already searching. That's why they're showing up in Google. So what I recommend you do with this is you can either write them down, type them out, or take a screenshot and just to start to drop a list of keyword phrases that seem interesting to you and that are related to your services. So obviously you don't really want to write about keywords that have nothing to do with what you do, but there can be some exceptions to that rule. Maybe I'll get into that next week. So next week, we're going to be talking about how to choose your keywords, right? Because it's one thing to find keywords, but then it's another thing to actually select them. So that's the second way. And if you want to take it a little step further, this is kind of like a bonus advanced step, is if there is a particular keyword that you're like, oh, that one looks awesome, press enter, like complete that search and look at what websites come up there, what brands come up there, what types of businesses, right? And so you can start to evaluate the competitiveness of that keyword based on the size and the overall presence of that brand, right? So if you type in a keyword and then you see WebMD, which is a very big medical website, come up in the search results, that keyword is fairly competitive, right? Or if you see the New York Times, that keyword is definitely competitive. That doesn't mean you can't compete against that, but you need to keep that in mind. So that's kind of taking it to that next step of doing that initial keyword research and looking at that data. And you want to just make sure you're competing against the right types of keywords. All right, that's the second way. And then the third way is using a website called Quora. So Quora is a really powerful community of questions and answers. So there are literally millions of questions that you can find, and they're organized into different expertise and industry areas. So the best way to approach Quora is to search whatever you do. So if you're a therapist, you can search therapy, psychologist, or mental health. And then you're going to see each section has like a collection of questions, right? And so the cool thing about Quora is that you're going to be able to see people who ask, and then you can also get into the conversation and start to answer. And in some cases, you'll actually be able to share additional blog content. So remember that what we're doing here is we're finding keywords. So that's a little bit of like a thing if you want to get distracted. But what I use Quora for my clients and for myself is I look at what people are asking and I start to get ideas, because again, a lot of the times we have a good idea of what people are asking, but there might be some blind spots in our content strategy that we haven't covered yet. So Quora really gives us a lot more data and pure data of, okay, this is what people are asking. And I've actually also gotten ideas before in the past, seeing what people answer as well. So that's interesting, right? So let's quickly review the 3 places where you could find quality keywords. Number 1, ask your clients, ask your audience, ask people who already know and trust you, and also ask people who you don't know yet. If you're going to use Facebook groups, make sure that you use Facebook groups where you know your ideal audience is in. Don't just grab a random Facebook group that you've never interacted with, because you're going to get random answers, right? So you want to be intentional about that. And get uncomfortable. It's okay if, maybe you've never done this before. And you don't need tons and tons of data, right? So you just need just enough to start to get a sense and to start to get new ideas. The second place is Google search itself, and the search related bar at the bottom, going straight to that source can be very powerful. And then the last place is Quora, right? This amazing platform for questions and answers. And it's going to give you a lot of ideas of content and keywords. So that's it for this week's episode. I hope that those areas get you started on your keyword journey. And I hope you're inspired to start writing, to start thinking. So like I mentioned, next week, we're going to be talking about how to pick keywords, right? So here you probably end up with a pool of a bunch of keywords, and there might be some that you're like, I could write about that. But next week, I want to give you guys really some key things to keep in mind and how to pick the right keywords for your business. All right, let's talk a little bit about the Homegrown Traffic course. So this is my signature course. It's my biggest course out there right now. And basically, I created this course because I realized that a lot of business owners were kind of confusing how they approach their SEO. And there are a lot of people who are also really frustrated by their website traffic being low, just like wondering why their site wasn't showing up in Google at all, and how to do blogging and website stuff in a sustainable way that's not super overwhelming, right? Like, we don't have a lot of time, maybe some of us do have some time, but you want to use it effectively. And writing and blogging can be one of those things that can take time. So I wanted to show you how to do SEO in a way that feels fun, that's effective, and is also something that you could pass on to your team if you have one, right? So the SEO DIY course, Homegrown Traffic, that's what I named it, is a 5-week DIY course that shows you how to rank in Google, build a strong lead generation process, and write easily and consistently for your website in a way that attracts your ideal clients. So there are over 5 billion searches per day. So I have no doubt that your ideal client is already searching for you, both directly and indirectly through content. And when it comes to marketing, SEO just has the perfect timing. You can't get around that, right? And that's one of the reasons I just love SEO so much. It's just so perfect. Someone asks a question and you're right there answering it for them. And you're, literally changing lives as you sleep, as you just go about your day, because your content is helping people all the time. So, what I teach in the course is how to get your site to show up on Google, obviously, how to increase your website traffic and attract the right people to your site, because it's not just about growing for growth's sake, but really having those quality people show up on your site. And this, of course, leads to more sales, more leads, and more opportunities overall for your business. And so connected to all that, I teach you how to map out a quarter of content based on keywords. I teach you all the keyword research, but much more in depth with more advanced keyword and SEO tools. I walk you through step by step how I research keywords and how to take that and make that actionable inside your content plan. I help you get clear and confident that the content you're putting out there is connected to real questions that your audience is asking. That's a big one, right? So, a lot of people just aren't even sure if people are searching for their stuff. But once you learn the basics of keyword data research using SEO tools, that changes for you because you have some solid data to fall back on. And apart from keywords and content, I also teach you the basics of outreach, which is backlinking. I haven't talked a lot about that lately on the podcast, but I will. Quickly, backlinking is the process of generating organic and authentic links from other websites to your site, so that not only do you attract traffic, but it also sends signals to Google around the quality of your website. It's an important part of your SEO strategy that cannot be missing. I teach you some of the basics about technical SEO. So there's actually a brand new module 5 that covers site speed, as well as hosting options, redirects, and 404 errors. So I get into some of the technical things, but it's not meant to be super overwhelming. This is not a technical course, right? So I designed it so that almost anybody could take it. And if you are a web developer or a web designer or a VA or someone who does have like technical knowledge, you'll still get a lot of benefit from the course. But it's not getting into all the weeds of technical. And then as part of the new module 5, I'm also going to be adding on information about UX and UI. I've had several students talk to me about this, and I agree that it's an important part of SEO. So I'm really excited because this cannot, again, be missing. You could attract all the great traffic, and then your website visitors aren't staying on your site, right? So the course, again, doesn't include heavy techie language or long drawn out instructions. It's giving you just the right amount of information so that you're really impacting your website traffic in a meaningful and fun way. On top of all that content, there are also Q&A calls. There's a live Slack group. And I'm going to be doing some writing sessions. So I know a lot of you struggle just getting your butt into a chair and doing some blog writing. So this worked really well last time around. Is we actually did a 3-hour writing session. I don't know if I'll do 3 hours, but what I'm thinking is maybe doing hourly. If you go to the sales page of the course, which I'll share in a second, I'll have all the details of that. But there are definitely some live elements of the course that allow you to be more consistent and take big action as the course is going on live. So those are all the details of the course that I want to share with you today on the podcast. The course itself is starting the live round starts Monday, February 15th. The cart will close on February 12th, and that price is the price right now, but it will probably go up throughout the year next time I launch the course. I'm really, really excited about this round. I think it's a great way to start the year, and you'll have lifetime access going forward. So if you decide to join now, you can join in on any of the other live rounds I do, and you'll have access to all future updates that I make, really. And I'm going to keep building this course. This course is important to me. So again, if you want to get all the information, you can go to bit.ly/htraffic21, and that will take you to the Teachable sales page. You can also go to my site, digitalbloomiq.com, and I'll have in the top announcement bar, I'll have a link as well. All right, my friends, that is all for this week. Thank you so much for being here. I really am grateful for you, and I'll catch you next week. Talk soon. Bye. Hey, this is Cinthia, and I wanted to once again thank you so much for coming on and listening to this episode of the Digitally Overwhelmed podcast. I spend a lot of time creating these episodes and editing them and publishing them. So I would love for you to leave me a review, whatever platform you're listening to your podcast on, whether it's iTunes or something else. Go ahead and click on that review bar, give me some stars, and leave a little comment. That really helps other people just like you find the podcast and just helps them grow their business. And if you want to find out more about this episode and more about what I do, get links from the show notes that we mentioned in this episode, you could head on over to digitalbloomiq.com/podcast. And there, the latest podcast should be published. If not, you'll need to scroll through and find your podcast number. Thank you so much for listening again, and I'll catch you on the next episode of the Digitally Overwhelmed podcast. Bye.